Hello and welcome to the Ocean Impact Podcast. I'm your host, Tim Silverwood, and very pleased to bring to you this episode which features Naude Dreyer, otherwise known as Namib Naude. On Instagram, he runs Ocean Conservation Namibia with his wife and supporters. They are the guys who go out to this remote region in southwest Africa and rescue seals that have become entangled in all sorts of crazy stuff. He uploads the videos to Instagram or to his YouTube. He's got over 245,000 followers and subscribers on YouTube, over 80,000 on Instagram. And he's just a perfect example about how one person can make a difference. We always like to think, can one person really make a difference? Watch this guy's exploits and you will soon realize they certainly can. But what I found intriguing about this chat is that we often think about pollution draining from cities and urban areas, being flushed out of the environment in big rivers where it then causes these problems. In the instance here, we're talking about one harbour, which happens to be a safe haven for a lot of fisheries and a lot of shipping activity, and the pollution seems to be coming from just this one area. So as much as Naude is out there trying to rescue these innocent creatures on a daily and weekly basis, his vision is on how to stop this problem from happening. And this is a real indication of just how wicked and complex the problem of plastic pollution and items being dumped overboard from ships really is. So I commend your work, Naude. Hopefully everyone can go and jump on and check out these YouTube videos and follow him on Instagram. The guy is a legend and we were so thankful to have this conversation with him. Thanks as always for tuning in to the Ocean Impact Podcast.
Can't take the ocean out of me.
Hello everyone, Tim Silverwood here from Ocean Impact Organisation, and very excited to be hosting an Instagram live podcast recording with Naude Dreyer, who is the man behind what could only be considered a phenomenon, which is the Ocean Conservation Namibia project. Naude's Instagram account has over 82,000 followers. His YouTube channel for Ocean Conservation Namibia has over 246,000 followers. And why is this occurring? It's because this man is going to absolute incredible lengths with his team and supporters to capture entangled seals in his hometown of Pelican Point in Namibia. And I've just accepted the invitation from Naude, so he will be tuning into this Instagram live now. Hello, my friend.
Tim, how are you doing?
I'm doing really well. I've been sort of buzzing about this Instagram live conversation with you for a while now. Thank you so much for your time.
Anytime. Cool. I've been I've been pretty excited too. Thanks for the cool introduction.
Hey, no worries. I think I can't even actually recall when I first came across your incredible work, but like everyone who follows you, I think it was an immediate love affair, and obviously being able to talk to you a couple of times now and learn more about you, it's just brilliant. So yeah, thank you. So let's dive into this conversation. I think, for those of you obviously tuning in and familiar with Naude's work, then you maybe don't know a lot about my work, but I've been working on plastic pollution for over a decade. And so to see someone like yourself just charging ahead and doing so much as an individual and with a small team, it's just been amazing. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the origin story to how you got involved with rescuing entangled seals near your home in Namibia?
Cool. So yeah, we basically I've always grown up in a conservation background. My parents are conservationists, and just had this sort of instilled in me from a young age to look after nature. I've been surfing for most of my life, and just always seen myself as a bit of a custodian of the ocean, especially around here. So I started up my wife and I started up a company doing kayaking tours about 8 or 9 years ago at Pelican Point, close to our hometown. And about 8 years ago, we found the first seal entangled in some netting in the water. A friend of mine, we dragged him to the beach and managed to cut him loose, and it was a really cool feeling. We knew we'd saved this guy's life. And since then, it sort of organically evolved. Every once in a while, we'd find a seal, not particularly looking for them, just opportunistically see a seal, do what we could to try and help it. And from about 3-4 years ago, it just sort of evolved into a bit more of an obsession, you might say. And from about, I'd say like 2.5-3 years ago, I've been actively looking for them, looking for entangled animals while we're on tour, always just while we're on tour. And this has led up to a point where last year we caught probably around 300 seals for the year. And beginning of this year, my wife and I decided to start up ocean conservation in Namibia. This problem is just so huge. We need to bring light. Thanks to social media, it's suddenly become a global issue, not just something we're sitting with alone. It's been amazing. So we started up ocean conservation in Namibia, and with the lockdown, it's given us an awesome opportunity to be out there every day. So, I mean, we were now on, just yesterday, we hit 450 seals for the year that we've just caught this year so far. So it's incredible. There's a massive need for the work we're doing.
I'd like to understand a little bit more about this geographic location. Obviously, people tuning in from all around the world. So describe where on planet Ocean it is that you live, and maybe that can be a segue into what makes this location a specific problem for the seal populations there.
Okay, so Namibia is in the southwestern corner of Africa. So just above South Africa on the west coast. We've got the cold Benguela current system running up here, very rich water system, very cold and massive, teeming with marine life, a lot of fish in that, and obviously a big seal population. So we've got probably around 1.5 million seals in Namibia, which is sustained by very rich fishing waters. But the particular problem is with this colony of ours that I'm dealing with most of the time is that we've got a massive fishing port. So Walvis Bay, the peninsula where I'm working on, we're in a big bay, and if this is the bay, then this would be the point, and the town is in the bottom of the bay. So we've got close proximity to this massive fishing port. We have a lot of ships anchored in the bay just for cold stacking, safekeeping, storage, repairs. So it's a very busy port. So we're very close to a lot of heavy industry and a lot of fishing not too far offshore. So they're just a lot more exposed. It's not to say there's no entanglements in the other colonies. I just think the one I'm dealing with here is more exposed to these elements. And it's also actually the only Namibia, I think something like 80% of the Namibian coastline is MPA, marine protected area, which is a great thing. It's one of the highest ratios in the world. But it also means we don't really have access to the other colonies. So it's very difficult to actually collate how much worse the extent of the damage is.
So has it always been this industrial centre here? You mentioned it's a hub for shipping and fishing. Has it always been this way?
Yeah, it's the only deep water port in Namibia. So that was the origins of the town hundreds of years ago, were as a stopover for ships traveling from Europe to the east, and got colonized by the British first, the Germans, and it's just always been a very busy shipping hub. So yeah, that is essentially the essence of the town. The whole town is, the economy, everything is based around fishing and shipping.
You talk a lot that you are dealing with the symptoms of this problem. So I would love this conversation to be around what you foresee to be the solution. So maybe we just even go straight there. Like, you've been doing this now for 8 years. The problem, is it getting better? Is it getting worse? Are you starting to put a lens on what you think the solution will be so you don't have to keep doing this incredible work that you do?
It's difficult. I think it's very difficult to say if it's getting worse. We are catching more seals, but I'm also devoting a lot more time, more concentrated time to it. So it's difficult to say it's getting worse. But yeah, you're very right. I'm always maintaining we're just treating the symptoms here, and there's a lot that needs to be done. The first thing is to bring to light the problem, just to raise awareness, which we're doing now quite well. I think a lot of people are aware of the problem, and now trying to mitigate this problem. There's a lot of ideas we're tossing around. We've been very restricted with the lockdowns. I mean, our country's been in a heavy lockdown since March, so it's very difficult the amount we could do about it right now. But there's the first, I mean, I always maintain the base of this is education. Getting this to the fishermen, to the industry, speaking to the guys, and firstly making them aware of the problem. It could be that they're not aware about this problem at all in the first place. Namibia doesn't have the highest level of education, and it could be that these people just simply don't know the results of their actions. And then trying to change the attitude. Now, it's a hard sell, because seals are not the favorite animals of the fishermen. They do see the seals as a big culprit of fish loss, stock loss. So it's very difficult how to manage this, and something I'm still trying to figure out. But in terms of mitigation, there are a few plans. So one of our biggest, by far our most common entanglement is the fishing lines. So these are commercial hand lines. The guys are fishing. It's a fish called snook. It looks a lot like a barracuda. It's a pelagic schooling fish. The guys go out and they'll catch hundreds of these fish by hand line. And these hand lines get broken off, discarded, whatever. So about 80% of the seals we're catching are actually stuck in these lines. So something small I want to start with. I think a lot of these lines they get knotted up and the guys just toss them overboard, not even thinking twice about it. So we want to install bins on the boats, collection bins for these lines. And even to a point where we incentivize this by buying the lines back from the guys. It's just to make it a little bit more worthwhile, until we can get to the point where people stop tossing the lines over on their own accord, at least just to try and control that damage a little bit.
Do you think they're tossing them overboard when they're coming back to port, or is this a behaviour that's happening when they're out in the fishing grounds?
Look, a lot of lines break while the guys are fishing and are lost at sea. The seals also, we kept quite a few seals. Let me show you so they got a long hand line, and then this hook. So it's a very heavy duty hook with a weight on it. They get tossed over and pulled back in like a lure. And so we do get quite a lot of seals with these hooks in their mouths. So the seals do sometimes actually go for the lures themselves. And these seals are extremely strong, so the guys can only hold on for so long till the lines break. So those are out of the hands of the fishermen. But I think a lot of the lines, maybe at the end of the day, once the guys are cleaning up, the thing is they're working on hand lines, they're standing the lines. Often there's big knots, and if the fish are biting, I think it's just a matter of cut off the old line, toss it, get the new line set up, and keep going. You don't want to lose productivity. So I need to find out more about where these lines are actually coming from. If they purposefully tossed overboard just to keep space on the deck, or if they're accidentally lost overboard, where the main lines, and if there's any chance to keep them on board, then we need to exploit that.
Yeah, well, we had a conversation over IG Live with Ben Neppers from Dreyer, who work with fishermen in Chile and have now expanded to Argentina and Peru, and they essentially have got a take-back scheme for old fishing nets, which they now turn into high-value products like that Patagonia hat brim that you're wearing, skateboards, sunglasses. So there is models out there where these take-back schemes offering a high value for those returned items can work. So I suppose the challenge for you is, it's a relatively new journey for you, and now you've set up the conservation charity. It's where your focus lies, because there's seals out there that need your attention, but then you've also got this upstream solution that I'm sure is calling you.
That's the paradox. I still want to be out there catching seals all the time, and so we've just jumped into this whole non-profit thing, and there's just so many different avenues to look at. But just to jump back a little bit now to what you were talking about, lines, like in an ideal world, something we'd love to have implemented one day would be a system where nets and lines have to be bought on an exchange system. Like, how cool would it be that you could only buy lines if you bring back the previous batch of lines that you've bought, to ensure that those come back. The same with nets. And if you've lost them, there's either a heavy penalty, or you've got to account for every meter of line that you've lost. A lot of admin, obviously it's very idealistic, but it'd be such an amazing system to implement.
Yeah, and let's hope there's people around the world, solutionists, who are already thinking about this. You know, the ability to put chips and tags in products is growing very rapidly. The cost is coming down, so it's certainly available. Are you an anomaly in the town where you live? I mean, obviously you have conservation in your DNA, but what is it like for other people? Are you getting as much of a positive response from your community locally as you are globally?
There is our people are aware of me, and I chat on local TV shows and radio and that, but it's still, again, especially in town, people are very unobjective to seals. They're by no means a threatened species around here either, so it's not a rhino or something like that has the big cute or wow factor. There is definitely a movement, yes. I'm getting people phoning me all the time, seeing birds, seals, anything. So there is definitely a consciousness shift here. That and most people just did not even know there was a problem at all in the first place. So it's a really yes, I would say to a certain extent, yes, not as rapidly and as much, but one thing that's very cool now, the local fishing factories, because they always, when the boats come in and this fish falling overboard, they bring they attract a lot of seals, and there's a lot of these packing straps lying around the factories in the water and that as well. So I'm getting guys phoning me from the factories all the time, saying, listen, there's a seal here, come and attend, see if we can catch it, see if we can get it freed up, and that's cool. The word is getting out, and with that, it just hopefully is going to expand on the message.
Yeah, and I think this is where, and you know, you've got to play to your strengths and your passions and your focus. And it does sound like at the moment that still is the entanglement rescues. So do you want to sort of jump into a conversation there around, do you have any direct needs or support that is tangible right now that can maybe help you with some of that other work that doesn't involve that physical, because that's obviously highly skilled and you're very trained for that? Is there any specific needs you've identified that would help you with your broader mission?
Yeah, so one thing we're working on, we're working with a few scientists there's some from France, a few from South Africa, and I'm dealing with guys in the States as well. And to be able to implement any change, to change policy, like in South Africa, this policy has been changed that these packing straps have to be cut. Like they may not, you go into a ship, there may not be anything in a loop of line, a packing strap, anything like that may not be complete. Like if you see it lying around, it must be cut. And to change this policy, we need to back this up with proper scientific data. So that's why we're working along with a couple of scientists now to try and get some conclusive data, write papers, and we can take this to government with recommendations and change policy. Other than that, we're looking at various upcycling options for the fishing lines. Actually, the monofilament fishing line is actually a very recyclable material. So if we can set up, I don't know if you've seen the Precious Plastics platform. Yeah. They've got some very cool open source technology that you can download and build your own shredders and things. So it'd be awesome if we can empower a community project to then bring in all these nets. They can work directly with the fishing factories, get in all these things, recycle them properly, and repurpose them to other things that can be used. So what you're doing is you've got a secondary upliftment program and an awareness of of the problem, and also at the same time keeping lines and nets out of the ocean.
I feel, and I've obviously never had the chance to visit and experience your local area in the flesh, but it does feel to me like it's achievable with the growing global awareness, the incredible innovations that are out there for upcycling, models that exist to take back schemes. Do you feel like this is something that can be tackled in X number of years? Do you feel like you can, achieve this mission that you've set yourself, which is to obviously prevent this problem from happening?
I do believe it is attainable. It's just it's something that will take time. It's something that's not going to happen overnight. Unfortunately, it'll be a long process, but this consciousness shift is happening globally and on a local level too. Look, we're living in a country with extreme poverty. Animal rights, animal welfare is not very high on most people's priority list. And I can't expect that to be. If you don't know how to feed your kids at the end of the day, and you're not worried about the welfare of a seal, that is going to have no impact on your life. But at the same time, there is a shift, and it is coming. The big thing now we're trying to do is to get to schools. I've already got a couple of schools lined up that I will visit, local schools in the poorer communities, that I will bring the pictures, show the stories, and be able to just make these kids aware. Again, I keep going back to education. If we can start with the youth and work on and change their minds and working on a bit more of a long-term plan, then hopefully we can effect some sort of change.
Yeah, and I think this is where we've connected in the past, because that really is the origin story behind my activism and actionism with plastics through Take 3 for the Sea. It started before this was a mainstream issue back in 2009, and I've watched the mainstream snowball, gather steam and roll down the hill, and it's happening now. But then the really wicked part starts when you actually then go into a micro setting like you are in, and you realize just how hard it is even to create the kind of change that's required there in that one geographic location around the world. A question I had, do you have any rivers inputting land-based pollution into the sea near you, or is it really mostly coming from local communities and the ships?
So that's the thing. Our beaches are actually quite clean. We don't have any. Look, Namibia's got a very small it's a huge country with a very small population. We've got just over 2 million people. And of which, because we've got no major rivers, no major sources of fresh water on the coast, we're not a traditionally fishing nation. There's no like ancient artisanal fishing really going on here. So there's only 4 towns in the entire coastline with a collective population of maybe 250,000 people. Also, on top of that, no major rivers at all, which is because we're a very dry desert country. So there's the northern border and the southern border are perennial rivers, and they flow all the time, but in between there's nothing. You've got a few rivers that might come down in flash floods, bring a bit of plastic, but no, you don't have this. So you drive on the beaches, they're actually pretty clean. Most of our beach rubbish is shipborne. There's a lot of shipping coming through here. We're the main import-export hub for the whole of southwestern Africa. So, and then also obviously all the fishing as well. So there needs to be a focus on. Our government also needs to come to the party in terms of strengthening dumping rules and things, adhering to there are international standards, but there's not enough I would just say monitoring and control here. So people take advantage of that. People are still coming in, cleaning their bilges in the bay and doing things they're really not allowed to. So I'm running a bit off track here, but again, it needs to be. It all comes down to monitoring and control and trying to change it from a ministerial level as well. But yeah, back to the original. Our beaches are relatively quite clean. It's mainly shipborne rubbish.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing, right? Because there is international rules, not very well governed, of course, because the ocean covers 2/3 of our planet, and we're not peeking and looking at what everyone is doing. It's why we have such huge problems with maritime pollution. But when it comes to a port and a dedicated location, it is achievable, obviously taking into consideration all the local unique characteristics. But is there like a port authority or any governing entity that looks after activities around the port?
We do have Namport, we do have a local port authority, and these rules are in place, but it's not that they're doing daily patrols out. We've got about 50 boats on anchorage out in the port. A lot of these are oil ships, just due to the recession. Ships come here, we're a very safe anchorage. They're not drilling here, but they're just standing here. They're being cold stacked. But they still need to be manned all the time. So we are finding a lot of like hard hats, jackets, tins from paint rings. There's this thing we've been picking up all the time lately. There's this, you can see there's this, it's a very hard rubber, and it's got these little hooks on it, and we caught 4 or 5 seals stuck in these things, and it gets really tight, so it cuts really deep into them. And we figured out, someone contacted us and said these are it's a heat exchanger. So on a cooling system or heating system on a ship with a big refrigeration system, it's a heat exchanger gasket. So suddenly someone's done a lot of repairs on their cooling system and their refrigeration system and just felt the need to toss this overboard. So it is highly, highly illegal here. There'd be massive, massive fines, but to pinpoint it back to that perpetrator is very, very difficult. That's the problem.
It is indeed. Tell us about how you're going with support. Now, if it wasn't COVID, you would be running a tourism operation. How has your life changed? Have you got a passion and desire now to use all your fundraising and support from around the world to just do the conservation project, or what's your hope for the future?
So absolutely, I'm sort of I've got a really good team on the tour side, so that can carry on. I'm committing myself fully to ocean conservation in Namibia. Support has been overwhelming. Luckily, it's an easy sell in terms of fundraising. I always find like researchers and things struggle so much to raise funds, whereas this is tangible. People can see the direct results of the funding. So the funding firstly enables us to be out there every day, keep our equipment up to date. I mean, fuel, food, everything does add up. And so support has been overwhelming. We're also we've managed to monetize our YouTube channel, which has really helped just to bring in a bit of extra to cover the day-to-days, and organizations are stepping in as well now. Leatherman has been amazing, sending us all these tools. We're getting gloves. After I got bitten a while ago, like I've got so many pairs of Kevlar sleeves and things coming, protective wear coming from all over the world now. So people are really keen to help. So the support has been really incredible, and it's fully enabling us to do this now every day on a full-time basis.
That's so awesome to hear, because as you would acknowledge, that's often the hardest part of any non-profit organisation or project that's built around passion, is finding those supporters. So glad to hear you're off to well. While we're there, what is the call to action for people that do want to donate? You've got the Go Get Funding, as you've got a Patreon. Where do you want to send people?
Yeah, we've got we've got a Go Get Funding campaign going, which is basically our version of the GoFundMe in Namibia. Namibia isn't, or GoFundMe is not supported in Namibia, so Go Get Funding is a similar platform. We've got a Patreon, and then also if you can't support, like, just share the videos. If you're gonna watch on YouTube, run through the ads. It helps us. And yeah, it's just by sharing the message. People always feel they need to donate money. It's not everyone can. It's really never going to judge anyone, but just spread the word. It's so easy to just click the button and share, and it just means more people will get exposure to what we're doing.
Let's talk about this. I mean, it looks like you're a bit of a phenomenon when you look at some of the numbers on your social media and YouTube. Do you consider it a phenomenon? Like, are you blown away? Tell us what this journey's been like, from going from a passionate individual to a bit of a digital superstar.
Completely. It's weird. It actually started about 4 or 5 years ago. I was on my way back from a tour, and we picked up I found a young dolphin on the beach. He was flapping on the beach. He was still alive. did a quick assessment, checked him out. He was still pretty strong, so I carried him into the water and let him go. And I asked one of the clients to film it because I wanted to show my kids when I got home. And my wife said, "Oh, Facebook page has been really quiet for the tours. Let's just put it on there." And this thing just blew up completely. It had like 20 million views in a couple of days. So it already just, it gave me a little insight in that. But I never actually posted it on Instagram or anything like that. Again, with the same thing, I bored. I didn't have content. I'd only really started filming the rescues from about 3 years ago. Actually, I wasn't even filming them before. Again, just to show the family and just to put something, show people what I'm doing. And it just took off. The beginning of last year, I was still on, I think, about 2,000 or 3,000 followers, and it just exploded exponentially. Same thing with YouTube. We've spent a lot of time doing all the editing. Myself, my wife has been running YouTube for, like, she's been spending so much time reading up on how to optimize and everything. And so we put a lot of effort into this. It didn't just happen by accident, but it's paid off really well. People, again, we're really overwhelmed by it's something we do every day, so we don't see the significance in it, but for some reason people like to see little seals getting help.
Of course they do. I mean, and that's what I love to imagine the story behind each and every one of your followers and each and every one of your views, because of course on one hand it's educating about the problem, and sometimes there's some gore and sometimes there's some sad stories, but it's ultimately a positive story and an educational story.
Yeah, absolutely. There are always there are a couple of the videos that don't make it out there. There are some sad stories. Every once in a while we do find a seal that's dead on the beach with an entanglement that we just never saw, never got to, and that's always really sad. But it's a complete exception now compared to what it used to be. We're finding maybe one dead seal every 2 months, where 5 years ago it was 3 or 4 a day. So yeah, every seal has its own story. I love to always think, like, how did you get yourself into this? I mean, you find the most strangest things out there. And but yeah, back to the people. It's amazing. Everyone has, so many people come with personal little stories. You start to get your sort of regular followers. It's amazing how to build a rapport, and some really, really interesting people out there. I'm quite a social person, so I really enjoy where this is going.
I have a love-hate relationship with social media and the demands of building an online community. It sounds to me like you and your wife and your family are okay with this. Is it going okay? It's not too overwhelming yet?
It is. It's crazy. That's why I told you we took a week to go camping. I didn't switch on my phone or computer for a week. I really needed like a screen detox. I'm not used to spending that much time on the phone and the computer, and it's pushed me into a point. So I'm spending the whole morning going out looking for seals, come back, and then it's emails and comments and thank yous and editing and posting, and it's really so we still need to figure out a bit of time management. But I also don't want to outsource it to somebody else. I don't want to pay someone to just sit and answer comments and things. I like the direct link, but it's a very difficult thing to manage. I'm sure you've seen on your own platforms. It can get very overwhelming. That is for sure.
I just realised that we're having this conversation. You have actually been out this morning to the point, I'm assuming. Did you want to tell us a little bit about your recent experience, whether it's today or just since you've been coming back from your camping trip?
Yeah, so this morning was good. Went out a bit earlier and got back. We caught 7 seals this morning, it's a good morning. Yeah, I just my shoes are still soaking wet down here. We had to chase one right down into the water. But since we got back, so big highlight has been we caught the seal we named Julius. He's it's Antoine, who's just left, and I've been tracking him for about three or 4 weeks now. We saw him for the first time, and it's a really big guy. This huge bundle of net around his neck, in his mouth, like really, really bad. And but he'd always been in really dense groups close to the water. And we had 3 different days where we went right into the water, and we just missed him. We couldn't get him, and we didn't see him for for a whole week, and then we went away. And I was so scared he'd just gone somewhere to die because he was quite thin. And we came back from the camping on Saturday, and Sunday I drove out to the point with my son, and I saw him again. And I was just like, oh man, because he'd obviously had enough energy to go out and do a bit of hunting because he still looked quite strong. He'd actually put up a little bit of weight, but still really need to get rid of this. And my son was like, yeah, let's go. And he's 10 years old, and I'm like, no, dude, we can't do this. This is going to be so dangerous because the lines in his mouth, like one of us, you need someone to hold the seal, pin the seal down, another person through the cutting very close to these very sharp teeth. And I couldn't put him into either of those positions. So it was a bit difficult. So I said, listen, sitting here, it's a windy day, like normally in this kind of weather, like, and if he's just come back from sea, he's going to be there tomorrow. So next morning, Denzel and I went out first thing, and he was in the exact same spot still, and we managed to catch him. So it was very, very cool. Like not often do we name seals, so he's obviously made a big impression on us, and it was such a victory to get him. I'm gonna post the video tomorrow night on YouTube. I've been editing it for the last few days. I'm so excited about it.
How long does it take you to do the editing of the footage once you've been out and done a day of rescues?
It depends very much. If I'm just doing like a one quick like video, it'll take me 20 minutes, half an hour. So I'm very, very new to this editing thing, and like I'm not an editor by any means, and I still very manual process for me. So you can see by the editing it's still very basic, but it'll take me between half an hour and 2 hours, depending on. Sometimes I'll do these little compilations or bring in a voiceover or something. I try to get a little tricky and fancy every once in a while, and it takes me a lot longer, but yeah, I'd say half an hour. But I'm at a point now where I rather try and apply myself with a couple of hours, try and knock out like a whole week's of edits, and just so I don't have to go back to it all the time.
Absolutely. So you do capture data, don't you, from each and every entanglement case? So is that something you knew was going to be important from the very beginning, or when did you start doing the data collection?
Data collection came in probably around 2 years ago. I work quite closely with the Namibian Dolphin Project, so they're a research-based marine mammal organization in Namibia, and all the data gets fed back to them. We've got a couple of people writing different papers on entanglement, like consistency, trying to figure out trends with ages and sexes and things like that, who is more susceptible to it. And so yeah, everything gets logged on the beach firstly and come back, and I put it in a data sheet on a spreadsheet, and all the entanglements as well. You'll see each bundle of entanglements will always have a date on it. So I've got like a whole corner in my garage. It's like half the size of a car, just with a mountain of entanglements from the last 2 years as well. We've actually got a very cool project now. We've just shipped off a whole bunch of lines. We didn't ship it, but worried about the whole carbon footprint. So Antoine made him leave some of his clothes behind when he left, and he's filled up his whole bag with kilos and kilos of fishing line. It's going to the UK. It's a very cool project in the line, which we'll be announcing and talking about pretty soon. I'm very excited about that.
All I can think of is welcome to the club. The amount of passionate rubbish collectors, not always collecting it from live seals, mind you, but there is garages and sheds and people's houses that are full of plastic and other bits of pollution, because everything's got a story, and obviously if you can apply it into art or education, it's a really powerful tool.
Yeah, absolutely. So if anyone's listening, like if anybody has an idea for a cool art installation that involves fishing lines, backing straps, hooks, pretty much whatever you can think of, please give me a shout. I'm very, very happy to have the stuff used productively. It'll be so cool to repurpose any of this.
Awesome. Look, I think we can almost come close to the end of our awesome little IG live, but I would love just to open the floor up to you. Naude, do you want to talk to anything in particular that we haven't quite got to today? Do you want to ask me any questions? I want to just throw it back to you a little bit.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I just wanted to say. I want to see where you guys are heading. I mean, you've got this very cool, I nearly, just before we were started, I nearly shaved off half my beard. Yeah,
that was for everyone tuning Yeah, everyone tuning in, there was a Australian base, it's actually now in 12 countries. It's a campaign environmental project called Half Cut. And for the month of August, you raise funds that go to the acquisition of pristine rainforest, because essentially half of the world's rainforests have been lost in recent years. And so as part of the end of the campaign, after you've done your fundraising, you either need to shave half of your beard or plait or braid half of your hair, or wear half a face of makeup. So I had half a beard a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I nearly did that, but I'm glad so yeah, I was checking this. It's a very cool initiative. And tell me, just like you guys seem to be going from strength to strength with Ocean Impact Org. Like, what's happening with that? What is your main? What is the main sort of mission with this?
Yeah, so for everyone tuning in, after 10 years of building this charity, which still continues, Take Three for the Sea, it's got an incredible story, both past and future. But I decided there was more to be done to help Planet Ocean, and I really believe strongly in the opportunities around innovation and good business, purpose-driven impact businesses. Like, what if there was solutions out there that could enable those fishermen to either give back net, or to make it that, buy one, get one back initiative you spoke to before, or to upcycle, or, maybe there's even a future where, there's not as much reliance on commercial fishing, because we're growing protein either in aquaculture or even in a lab where it can be not even a meat-based source of protein. So there's so much innovation that we need to see. So Ocean Impact Organisation is trying to be that hub to bring in the innovators and the entrepreneurs and the disruptors and the big thinkers to try and do things differently, to do things better for the sake of the ocean. And so we're running a big campaign at the moment, calling for startups who are doing this work, who are trying to improve the way we treat Planet Ocean. And so applications are open now until the 5th of October from all around the world. We've got cash and prizes for the winners. And this is the start of our journey, just to keep on supporting more entrepreneurs and more businesses to do good for the planet.
And you're running this worldwide. It's not just bound to Australia.
Yeah, it's worldwide. Obviously, we're an Australian-based organisation, so a lot of the support from the partners that we've brought together are Australian-based organisations. So, but the cash will get transferred into whatever currency the winner happens to come from. And we exist to help these businesses and entrepreneurs. So we'll do whatever we can to help their business succeed and scale.
Yeah, that's awesome. And tell me this. I've been reading, I've seen such amazing, this whole 30 by 30 campaign, this initiative to have 30% of the oceans protected by 2030. I mean, I think it's groundbreaking. We're living on the cusp of the blue revolution, and it's so important that this happens. And what are your feelings on this? Do you think it's attainable? Do you think there's going to be enough support? Can we actually make this happen?
We have to go for it with everything we've got, and there is brilliant organisations and individuals and philanthropic foundations that are invested in this campaign to have 30% of the ocean protected by 2030, and it's essential. We know they work. Marine protected areas have such a phenomenal impact on preserving that site, seeding other sites, creating jobs and opportunities around tourism. So it simply has to happen, but there is naturally a lot of resistance. Even in my home country of Australia, the commercial and even recreational fishers feel like they're about to get locked out of something that they love so dearly, without fully understanding how that area adjacent to a protected area can become a new source just by leaving that area alone. So we need to somehow change mindsets very broadly to understand that without protected areas, the ocean is going to be at threat desperately.
Yeah. Man, if we could implement a global artisanal fishing system, if you want fish, go catch it, it's fine. If you want to eat fish,
fishing is beautiful. It's a beautiful act when done correctly, but these factory ships and these giant super trawlers and the ships that basically just act as the hub for all these other fleets to go around and just pillage the ocean. It's just devastating, and we should know where our fish have come from. And this is where again, blockchain and open source technology is a huge technological advancement and innovation that we need, because we should all know where our fishes come from. If we knew the story of where our seafood came from, we wouldn't eat it for most of what we consume.
Now, in South Africa and in Australia, do you guys work on like a color listing? If you go to a restaurant, like the sustainability of your fish?
It is in the hands of the consumer. So we have apps and websites that we as the consumer would need to go and consult. So quite often you might be in a restaurant and you might ask the question, is this a sustainable source? If it's a conscious restaurant, they might be able to tell you, but often they won't. So you'll have to go and do the work and find out whether it's a good, bad, or a terrible.
And the other problem, of course, is whether you want to know that. A lot of people don't want to know that, unfortunately. They want to eat the nice piece of Japanese sushi that has flown over the world 4 times, and or the piece of swordfish fillet, and they don't want to know the backstory of it. They just want to know how it tastes.
That's it. I watched that documentary last night, My Octopus Teacher, which is who is ever going to eat octopus after watching that film? I can't imagine anyone.
Brilliant. I enjoyed that so much. It was incredible.
It was such a refreshing piece of storytelling, and I just can't wait. Again, this is really, we can wrap the conversation up on this, because it is the power of media. Social media is bad and ugly, but it's beautiful. And streaming services that can tell stories like that to transform attitudes on a huge scale. This is why this term ocean literacy, and you increase ocean literacy through what you do. We try, that film does it. We need to bring planet ocean into everyone's consciousness, because when we realize how important it is and how beautiful and fragile each and every individual organism is, we will change things on a big scale.
Absolutely. Just one screen at a time, one click at a time. I think you've hit it on the head there. It's exactly, we need to harness, you need to filter out and everything has their place, but like the makeup tutorials and the things on social media, and bring in the impactors, the people that are doing, actively working on change, and just highlight these concerns and these issues to bring it to a global stage.
Yeah, and again, back to your community and these people from, I can imagine, just such diverse backgrounds and situations, people who've never seen the ocean, let alone seen a seal, like they are ocean advocates now, thanks to the work that you do. So I commend you obviously on the physical work, because there is, over 1,000 seals that have given a second chance of life now as a result of you and your team. But it's that digital community which I'm fired up and inspired by. Yeah,
it's so cool. It's very inspiring. It's very big motivator to go back every day. Like, I can't disappoint them, so I need to just keep on doing that.
Good on you, mate. Any final words to close off this lovely conversation?
No, just waiting for borders and things to open again, and please, my home is your home. You see your ally in the background there. Not the ideal board for Donkey Bay, Skeleton Bay, but you come grab some seals, come grab some waves, got one of the best left-hand point breaks in the whole world on beach breaks right next to the seal colony. So it's the whole package. You need to come to Namibia, man.
Absolutely, and the same is true. You're always welcome here, but let's hope we can hug it out, rescue some seals together, and share a few waves.
Yeah. Man, thank you so much for your time. It's been really cool.
Thank you, mate. Any, do you want to tell people where they can find and follow you? Just knowing this will be a podcast, so a last little drive on where people can find, follow, and support you.
Yeah, so basically I think the best starting point is our website, ocnamibia.org. From there, we're doing like weekly newsletters. We're keeping up to date with our socials, everything through there as well. So and all our funding links are available on there too. We've also got a link now to merchandise. A lot of people have been asking for merchandise. We're producing some eco range sweaters, shirts, hats, all kinds of cool things. So just pop into the website and you can take it from there.
Awesome, mate. Thanks for your time, and talk to you soon.
Keep up your awesome work. Thanks so much.
See you, mate.
Bye.
can't take the ocean out of me.